the question that haunts us all. What if the secret to living longer, stronger, and happier after 50 isn't in a pill bottle, but in your kitchen drawer? I'm Dr. Thomas, a physician with 30 years of diving deep into the science of medicine, psychology, and the raw, human fight to thrive. 5 years ago, a woman named Betty Johnson walked into my clinic, her eyes heavy with fear, and asked me a question that stopped me in my tracks. Dr. Thomas, am I too old to get my life back? At 68, Betty was battling diabetes, clogged arteries, and a heart that felt like it was giving up. Her story isn't just hers, it's the story of every person over 50 who's ever felt like their body's betraying them, like the years are stealing their dreams. Welcome to Living Fully After 50, where we're not just surviving, we're chasing joy, one bite at a time. Stick with me, because Betty's journey will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about health, and it just might save your life. The first glimpse, Betty's breaking point. It was a rainy Tuesday in Seattle, March 2020, when Betty sat down in my exam room, her hands fidgeting with a crumpled tissue. She was a retired nurse, a woman who'd spent decades caring for others, with a laugh that could light up a room and a heart full of dreams she feared she'd never live. But that day, her laugh was gone. Dr. Thomas, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, I'm scared I won't make it to my grandson's wedding next year. Her type 2 diabetes was out of control, her A1C was 8.2, her fasting glucose hovered near 200 mg/dl. Her cholesterol levels were a red flag, and her cardiologist had warned of early arterial blockages. She was on a cocktail of meds, metformin, statins, blood pressure pills, but they left her exhausted, foggy, and feeling like a shadow of herself. Betty's story hit me like a punch to the gut. After 30 years as a doctor, I've seen countless patients lose hope, but Betty's pain was personal. She reminded me of my own mother, who'd fought heart disease with courage but not enough tools. Betty wasn't just battling numbers on a chart, she was fighting for moments that mattered, dancing with her grandson, traveling with her husband, Tom, to see the Grand Canyon, or just waking up without dreading the day. I want to feel like Betty again, she said, tears welling up. Not this tired, broken version of me. As a physician, I've learned that health isn't just about labs or prescriptions, it's about the person in front of you, carrying their fears, their history, their hopes. Betty told me about her life, raising 2 kids, working night shifts in the ER, and dreaming of a retirement filled with adventure. But diabetes had stolen her energy, and the fear of a heart attack was a constant shadow. I leaned forward, looked her in the eye, and said, Betty, you're not broken. You're just lost. Let's find you again, starting with your kitchen. The spark, a kitchen revolution. Betty's diet was a mirror of so many Americans over 50, microwave dinners, white bread, sugary coffee drinks to get through the day. She'd been told to cut fats, count calories, and rely on meds to fix her problems. But my decades of research, poring over studies, working with patients, studying psychology, told a different story. The body isn't a machine you patch up with pills. It's a living system that thrives when you feed it with love and intention. I handed Betty a list of 15 foods that could stabilize her blood sugar, unclog her arteries, and protect her heart. These weren't exotic superfoods or pricey fads, just simple, affordable ingredients she could find at her local grocery store. First up was kale, the leafy green nobody gets excited about until they understand its power. Kale's soluble fiber acts like a sponge, soaking up bad cholesterol, LDL, and preventing insulin spikes. Its antioxidants, flavonoids, and sulforaphane fight the silent inflammation that chews up your blood vessels over time. Blend it with lemon and water for a morning detox, I told Betty. She raised an eyebrow. Kale? That's rabbit food. I chuckled. Give it a week. It's like hitting the reset button on your body. Then there was avocado, creamy and delicious, but a secret weapon for heart health. Its monounsaturated fats lower LDL while boosting HDL, and its potassium relaxes blood vessels. I shared a story about John, a 72-year-old patient who added half an avocado to his daily salad and saw his blood pressure drop 10 points in a month. Make your own guacamole, I told Betty. Skip the sugary store-bought stuff. Her eyes lit up. She loved Mexican food. Strawberries were next, sweet but low on the glycemic index, meaning they don't send your blood sugar soaring. Their anthocyanins reduce inflammation and strengthen blood vessels. I told Betty about Linda, a 60-year-old who started eating strawberries daily and felt her energy return. It's like a love letter to your heart, I said. Betty smiled. She'd always loved berries. We went through the list: walnuts for omega-3s and magnesium to stabilize blood sugar, yams for slow-digesting carbs and anti-inflammatory dioscinin, garlic for its plaque-fighting allicin, apples with their quercetin-rich skin, broccoli for its detoxifying sulforaphane, oranges for their vessel-relaxing hesperidin, oats for their beta-glucan fiber, almonds for insulin sensitivity, purple grapes for resveratrol, black beans for their low glycemic protein, lemons for their cleansing pectin, and the crown jewel, a red onion, turmeric, and olive oil recipe. This recipe was my trump card. Red onions deliver quercetin to reduce arterial inflammation, turmeric's curcumin lowers blood sugar, and olive oil's healthy fats amplify the benefits while protecting the heart. Slice a red onion thin, I told Betty. Saute it in a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil. Add a teaspoon of turmeric and a pinch of black pepper to activate the curcumin. Cook for a few minutes and eat it 3 times a week with veggies or quinoa. She scribbled it down, half curious, half skeptical. The first stumble, a moment of doubt. 3 weeks later, Betty came back, her face a mix of hope and frustration. She'd tried the kale drink, it's not as bad as I thought, and loved the avocado salads, but she'd slipped up. A church potluck had tempted her with pie and soda, and stress from helping her daughter with a move had her reaching for old comfort foods. I feel like I'm failing you, Dr. Thomas, she said, her voice heavy. This is where my 30 years of psychology come in. Healing isn't a straight line, it's a dance, with missteps and all. Betty, I said, you're not failing. You're human. Let's make this easier. We crafted a simple plan, one new food each week. Week 1 was strawberries with breakfast. Week 2 was the red onion turmeric sauté with dinner. Week 3 was a handful of walnuts as a snack. I also asked her to keep a journal, not just of food, but of how she felt. Write down your energy, your mood, even your dreams, I said. Your body's got a story to tell. But here's where the story gets gripping. A month in, Betty faced a moment that nearly broke her. Her grandson, Ethan, was turning 12, and she was invited to his soccer game. She wanted to go desperately, but the fear of not keeping up, of feeling like the sick grandma, paralyzed her. What if I can't walk across the field? She asked me, her voice trembling. What if I embarrass him? I thought of a quote from Oprah Winfrey. The greatest discovery of all time is that a person can change his future by merely changing his attitude. I shared it with Betty and said, you're not just eating for you. You're eating for Ethan, for those moments you'll never get back. The turning point, a glimmer of hope. Over the next few months, Betty's journey was like watching a sunrise after a long, dark night. Her journal went from kale tastes like grass to I walked 2 miles today and felt alive. Her fasting glucose dropped from 200 to 140 mg/dl. Her LDL cholesterol improved by 20 points, and her blood pressure steadied. But the real magic was in her spirit. She started smiling again, laughing at her own jokes, and talking about her dreams with a spark I hadn't seen before. One day, she came in with a story that gave me chills. She'd gone to Ethan's soccer game, bringing a kale strawberry walnut salad she'd made herself. To her shock, Ethan's teammates devoured it, calling it Grandma's Power Salad. Her daughter, Sarah, pulled her aside and said, Mom, you're glowing. What's your secret? Betty laughed and told her about the red onion turmeric sauté. That moment wasn't just about food, it was about Betty reclaiming her place in her family. Not as a patient, but as a vibrant, unstoppable grandma. But the surprises didn't stop there. Betty's husband, Tom, a gruff retired mechanic who'd scoffed at health food, started joining her in the kitchen. They'd chop onions together, laughing through the tears, and experiment with yams and broccoli. Tom lost 15 pounds and started sleeping through the night, something he hadn't done in years. Their evenings became a ritual of connection, not just with food but with each other. As Maya Angelou once said, love recognizes no barriers. It jumps hurdles, leaps fences, penetrates walls to arrive at its destination full of hope. For Betty and Tom, the destination was a healthier, happier life together. The heart-stopping twist, a night that changed everything. 6 months into our plan, Betty hit a wall that shook us both. She woke up one night with crushing chest pain and shortness of breath. Panicked, She and Tom rushed to the ER, convinced she was having a heart attack. I got the call at 2 a.m., my heart pounding as I raced to the hospital. The tests were a relief: no blockages, no damage, but her cardiologist delivered a sobering warning. "Betty, your stress is spiking your blood pressure. It's as dangerous as any disease." This was a wake-up call. My 30 years studying psychology taught me that stress isn't just a feeling, it's a physical wrecking ball. Cortisol spikes can raise blood sugar, inflame arteries, and undo even the best diet. Betty admitted she'd been worrying about Sarah's financial struggles and her own fear of not being enough. "I thought I was handling it," she said, "but it's killing me." We shifted gears. I taught Betty simple stress busters: 5 minutes of deep breathing each morning, a daily walk with Tom, and a gratitude journal. I also leaned harder on foods that fight stress: oranges for their mood-lifting vitamin C, almonds for their calming magnesium, and purple grapes for their brain-boosting resveratrol. I shared a story about Mark, a 69-year-old veteran who used these foods to manage his hypertension and started coaching Little League again. "It's not just about living longer," Mark told me. "It's about living better." Betty took it to heart. She started walking with Tom every evening, sharing stories about their day. She wrote in her journal, "Today, I'm grateful for Tom's laugh and the way Ethan looks at me like I'm a superhero." Slowly, her stress eased, and her energy surged. As Nelson Mandela said, "The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." Betty was rising, and it was breathtaking. The ripple effect, a community reborn. Here's where Betty's story goes viral. She didn't just transform her own life, she lit a fire in her community. She started bringing her red onion turmeric sauté to her knitting group, teaching her friends how to make it. Her neighbor, Diane, a 64-year-old with pre-diabetes, tried it and saw her A1C drop from 6.4 to 5.8. Diane's husband, Bob, started eating walnuts and saw his cholesterol improve. Sarah began making kale smoothies for Ethan, who called them ninja juice. This ripple effect reminded me of another patient, Clara, a 71-year-old who'd survived a stroke. She started hosting healthy dinner nights for her book club, sharing broccoli dishes and apple desserts. Her grandson, who'd struggled with weight, lost 10 pounds and joined the swim team. Clara's legacy wasn't just her recovery, it was the lives she touched. Betty was doing the same, and it hit me: one person's courage can spark a revolution. The biggest moment came a year later, when Betty and Tom booked a trip to the Grand Canyon, a dream she'd thought was impossible. She called me from the rim, her voice trembling with joy. "Dr. Thomas, I'm standing here, looking at this wonder, and I feel alive." I could hear Tom whooping in the background. That moment wasn't just Betty's victory, it was a beacon for every person over 50 who thinks their best days are gone. The science, why these foods are game changers. Let's ground this in science, because I'm not just spinning a yarn, I am a doctor with 30 years of evidence behind me. These 15 foods are backed by rigorous research. Kale's soluble fiber binds bile acids, reducing LDL cholesterol. Journal of Nutrition, 2016. Avocado's monounsaturated fats improve HDL/LDL ratios. Journal of Clinical Lipidology, 2015. Strawberries' anthocyanins inhibit inflammatory pathways. Nutrients, 2018. Walnuts omega-3s lower triglycerides. American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, 2017. Yams dioskynin suppresses cytokines. Phytotherapy Research, 2019. Garlic's allicin reduces clot risk. Journal of Nutrition, 2016. Apple's pectin slows glucose absorption. European Journal of Nutrition, 2018. Broccoli's sulforaphane upregulates detox enzymes. Molecular Nutrition and Food Research, 2017. Orange's hesperidin improves endothelial function. American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, 2011. Oats beta-glucan stabilizes blood sugar. Diabetes Care, 2016. Almonds vitamin E protects against lipid peroxidation. Journal of Nutrition, 2014. Purple grapes resveratrol activates SIRT1 for vascular health. Circulation Research, 2017. Black beans anthocyanins reduce oxidative stress. Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry, 2019. Lemon's pectin enhances insulin sensitivity. Nutrients, 2017. The red onion turmeric olive oil recipe combines quercetin, curcumin, and polyphenols for synergistic anti-inflammatory effects. Diabetes and Metabolism, 2020. These foods don't just mask symptoms, they heal the root causes, working with your body's natural systems. My decades of practice have shown me that food is the most powerful medicine we have, if we use it with intention. Lessons for living fully after 50. Betty's story isn't just about food, it's about courage, hope, and the life you deserve. Here's what I've learned from her in my 30 years as a physician. 1. Hope is your superpower. Betty's journey began when she dared to believe she could change. As Helen Keller said, optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. If you're feeling defeated, start with one small choice: a strawberry, a walk, a moment of gratitude. 2. Your kitchen is your medicine cabinet. These 15 foods: kale, avocado, strawberries, walnuts, yams, garlic, apples, broccoli, oranges, oats, almonds, purple grapes, black beans, lemons, and the red onion turmeric sauté are your tools to fight diabetes, protect your heart, and reclaim your energy. 3. Small steps lead to giant leaps. Betty didn't overhaul her life overnight. She started with one food, 1 week at a time. Every bite is a victory, a step toward the life you want. 4. Healing is emotional. Food nourishes your body, but it also feeds your soul. Betty's joy in cooking with Tom, sharing with friends, and standing at the Grand Canyon showed me that health is about connection and purpose. 5. Stress is the hidden enemy. Betty's ER scare taught us that stress can undo even the best diet. Fight it with simple tools: breathing, movement, gratitude, and foods like oranges and almonds. 6. You're never too old. At 68, Betty thought her dreams were out of reach. But she proved that age is just a number. As George Bernard Shaw said, we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. 7. Your change inspires others. Betty's recipes didn't just heal her, they lifted her family and friends. Your choices can spark a ripple effect, changing lives you never imagined. 8. Consistency beats perfection. Betty had setbacks, but she kept going. Healing isn't about being perfect, it's about showing up for yourself, one bite at a time. Closing, your Grand Canyon awaits. My friends at Living Fully After 50, Betty's story is your story. If you're watching this, you're not giving up. You're yearning for energy, for health, for moments that make your heart sing, whether it's dancing at your grandson's wedding, hiking a trail, or just waking up without fear. I've spent 30 years watching people like Betty transform their lives, not with pills but with the courage to choose differently. Start today. Slice an onion for that turmeric sauté. Grab an apple and eat the skin. Write down one thing you're grateful for. These aren't just actions, they are promises to yourself that you're worth fighting for. As Betty told me from the Grand Canyon, Dr. Thomas, I didn't just get my health back. I got my dreams back. If this story lit a spark in you, join our Living Fully After 50 community. Subscribe at https://www.youtube.com/@livingfullyafter50official for more stories, recipes, and science-backed tips to thrive after 50. Click the next video to keep this journey going. Your Grand Canyon is waiting, one delicious, courageous bite at a time. Stay vibrant, stay hopeful, and let's live fully together.